Hi, good morning or good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to do a review of the CDAP program today and the applications of the CDAP program. The CDAP program stands for the Canada Digital Adoption Program, and we are going to dive into the details today, and I'll attempt to answer any questions you might have about the program and how you can use it, okay, in the next while. So, where are we and why are we here, right? I know that everyone's got a million things to do today. So for you to take out your time to come here, it must mean there was something that piqued your interest. And I want to definitely talk about the program, but I think what's really interesting is what the program can do for your business and the end result of of going through the process, the digital adoption process. So that's what we're going to focus in on. Yes, we will absolutely, dive into details on how the program works. But our focus for sure is always on delivering a really great opportunity for you. So these are the three things that we're going to do. We're going to dive into the details, show you like how the program started, what it's all about, how it works, how to qualify for it, take any questions that you have there. We'll talk about how it's worked for a customer of ours and specifically kind of, make it real, right? What does the process look like? And then we can talk about whether or not it makes sense to have another conversation about this and see if it makes sense for your business, okay? So that'll be at the very end. And but before I dive in, thank you so much for coming. And my name is Marguerite Fleming. I have been in the area of digital transformation. In particular, I had to serve customers on the marketing side of digital transformation for a very long time. Matter of fact, this last July, I celebrated 21 years in business. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so old. So I started when I was 10, and no, I'm joking. And so 21 years in business, and we've helped hundreds of customers over the last couple of decades to really grow their business. And we are a certified digital advisor with the federal government to roll out to do this program, as well as lots of other things that we do, which we can talk about if it's applicable. So when you're thinking about digital transformation, right, think about it in this way. Have you ever had a moment when you were working and something really broke, and then you could not do the work that you needed to do? And this happens from the largest organizations all the way down to the single person organization, right? It could be a Wi-Fi issue. It could be a virus. It could be a processing system. It could be your payroll system. It could be something. Something did not work. It was broken. Okay, it wasn't effective. There's systems that might have been sending out the wrong invoices. There are systems that, might not have been tracking things appropriately, right? A system that doesn't work, it costs you a lot of money and time in doing your business, right? It impacts your ability to do your work. And that's what digital transformation is about, is to close those gaps, to make you more productive, effective, competitive. And that's what we're talking about here. We know that companies that are investing in digital technology are the ones who are going to be leaders in their business. I mean, there's all sorts of stats out there. You probably are aware of them. We know that we have to do this. The rest of the world is investing. They're making, they're making their businesses more productive, more effective. They're, investing in updating systems and processes. And we need to too. And that's really what this is all about. That's what digital transformation does. It takes us from this current state where we have a lot of technology. There may be some gaps in that technology. We may be saying, hey, we need to upgrade something. Oh yeah, you know what? We need to take all these old systems and upgrade them into a new system, right? We need to take a legacy system that's on servers and update it to the cloud, right? We want it to be more secure, faster, et cetera. But we're doing a lot of these projects kind of in isolation or in silos within our business. The larger the businesses tend to be, the more siloed these conversations will be. So if you're in, a larger organization and you're in HR, you're going to be only thinking about your slice of the pie, right? As opposed to thinking more holistically about how do all of these transformations actually impact our business results, and how do we make the decisions on which project to take on first. So, every organization has their own dynamic about how they make these decisions. What project should we do first? And is that project going to actually help us move the needle in achieving our business goals? And that's really where we want to get to. That's what the digital transformation process does. It takes us from thinking of technology maybe in isolation in an organization, and listening to all these vendors. There's millions of vendors out there telling you different things. Oh, this is going to solve my problem. That's going to solve my problem, right? If you just implement my payroll system, all of your problems will be solved. All right. And so that may or may not be true. That may just lead to some other issues within the business, or it might not be integrated fully. So the role of digital transformation with a digital advisor is to take a look all the way around in all the areas of your business, ask you some questions about where are the gaps, and pull together a plan to transform those areas that are going to have the most immediate impact on driving your sales goals, driving your productivity goals, whatever that might be. That's what it's all about. So where we know is that there tends to be that gap between where we want to go. We do our business strategy. We want, to achieve these particular goals. And then we have our technology. And sometimes those two things don't match up. Matter of fact, many times it doesn't. Even in the largest organizations, they're constantly on this journey of how to close the gap. So for small and medium-sized businesses, this is the opportunity to take a look strategically at this and be able to say, well, what is the real issue about why we're not achieving the goals, or what is the real issue on what we need to invest on to reach our goals, right? So what is that real issue? And that's really where the CDAP program comes in. And so the federal government and the 2021 federal budget put in $4 billion towards digital adoption, digital transformation. And they did that for lots of reasons, mostly because Canada, out of the G7, we're 7th out of the G7 when it comes to productivity numbers and investment in technology. For small and medium-sized businesses, we are quite behind and trailing other countries when it comes to investments. Now, the largest companies are investing, obviously, but it's really with the smaller and medium-sized businesses that they wanted to spur and support adoption of new technologies. So there's two sides of the program. There's a Stream 1 program, which is called Grow Your Business Online. And I'll explain briefly about that. That might be useful for some people here. I'm not sure. But the program that we're going to spend our time on today is called the Boost Your Business Technology. All right. So there's two programs, which they put aside that $4 billion, right? So $4 billion of our tax dollars went into this program, which is great, over 5 years. We're in I guess we're going into year 2 now of the 4 years. So we still have a little bit of time to go. The majority of the funding went to the Grow Your Business. It is for micro grants. It's being administered by some very large agencies like the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, Digital Main Street, and then across the country by other agencies. It is a $2,400 grant plus some support. It's only for organizations that are customer facing, so kind of more retail like customers. It doesn't have to be a store, but anyone who deals directly with the public one-on-one. That is what Stream 1 is for, and it's $2,400 plus some support. Stream 2 is the Boost Your Business Technology, and this is what we're here to talk about. This is for organizations that are over $500,000 in revenue, up to $100 million. You have to have at least 1 employee, and you have to be registered in Canada. So if you have those 3 things, you qualify for Stream 2, which is very nice. And Stream 2 is this $15,000 for digital advisory services with a digital advisor, of which we are one. And you, at the end of that process, you made a loan, an interest-free loan, which is quite nice, available for up to 6 years. So you get up to $100,000. depending on your revenue levels, interest-free, with the intention of implementing the action plan that comes out of the digital adoption program, okay, or the plan that we would deliver for you. In addition to that, you also get a nice, throw-in, which is great, where you get access to a youth placement. So you'll get a fully funded intern to work in your business for 4 months, which is pretty nice. So again, both the loan and the intern are to support the initiatives that come out of doing the strategy plan. So that's what the CDAP program is about. And again, what's it for? It's to support your business growth, support the investment into digital technologies to become more productive and competitive, right? That's what this is all about. Any questions before I roll into, how it works? Is everybody good? Makes sense? Good. Okay, perfect. So let's talk a little bit about how it works. Once you've decided that this is a process that you think is useful, you would go onto the CDAP website. You would fill out their application, and you would do an assessment, a digital needs assessment, which they have right in there. I have to say that the application process is actually quite good. As far as government programs go, this is really streamlined. So you fill out an application, you get into their portal. The only thing that takes a little bit of time is where the government goes to check on your revenue numbers. So that's the only place that we've seen people have a little bit of a delay, is if you don't have all the information needed for the government to go in and to do that check. Sorry, somebody had their hand up. Who was that? Yes, please.
Yep. So what was that revenue, the revenue level that they require for this?
It's $500,000
$500,000
in revenue. Yeah, so $500,000 in one of the last 3 years. So between 2019, 2020, 2021, you have to have reported $500,000 in one of those tax years.
Does that in one tax year, not combined?
Yeah, okay. In one tax year to be eligible for this program. All right. Up to 100 million. So they're really targeting kind of that mid-market. Anyway, so you go into the process, you go online, you fill out the application, you do the needs assessment. As soon as you do that, it's quite streamlined. Then you get access to do the plan. So as soon as that is ready, you have been approved, essentially. You can start the work. You do the work with a digital advisor like ourselves, and oops, hey, what happened there? You do some work with a digital advisor. You can get compensated for that. So you make an arrangement with the digital advisor. Once the plan is submitted to CDAP, then you'll get paid for you'll get the grant money to cover the work that's being done. And as soon as that CDAP plan is submitted, then a portal opens up where you can apply for the loan. So it's quite nice. It's very streamlined. It moves relatively quickly. It moves kind of on time. We've seen people get approved in this process, within 24 hours. Because they had everything ready, and some people it's taken a week or two. 2 weeks is the max. Usually that's what they promise, but we've seen it happen a lot faster if you want to get to the place where you can, actually start getting the plan going. And then the plans are somewhere between 4 weeks and 8 weeks, depends on the company and what the needs are. So all in all, the process is actually quite fast. It can be done relatively quickly, especially when we're dealing with government programs. This is like lightning speed. Okay. So everything's good there, right? We're good to go, everyone. Any other questions on this? It's pretty straightforward, right? Okay. The devil's always in the details, but they've made it quite, a straightforward process internally to make this work. So that's what it is for. What I thought I would show you is what exactly is a digital, like how tangibly what this is and how it can be used for you, right? So it's great to get a grant. It's great to get access to the loan. But, what's the purpose? What's the, and these are some of the questions that we get. Really what we do is we say, hey, you know what, let's talk about what you want to accomplish. And let's take a look at what is maybe not working. If it's a business process, if it's sales that you want to work on, like what are those business goals that you have? It could be anything, okay? Reports, cybersecurity, it could be virtually anything, right? So what is that general problem? And then how are we going to fill that gap? So this process is meant to give an action plan and give visibility into how to bridge the gap. And I thought I would use an example of a client that we did some work with. This is a technology company out of Ottawa, who are incredibly amazing and can do most of the digital transformation, but the part that they were struggling with and what the issue that they had was with the sales growth. And what they wanted to do was grow their business. And they said, well, what is it? Like, what is that gap that might be missing in our business that is preventing us from meeting the goals? Or what would we need to put in place in order to reach the goals that we have? So again, we took a look at, okay, we have a business goal, a business result of a certain type of growth target. Let's take a look at what you have today, right? Where is that gap? And part of the analysis that we did was to say, well, what really is the real issue? What is going on back in the back end that's preventing you in your current state from achieving your goals? So we did that diagnosis with them, and we realized a couple of things, right? So the first thing that we did was what we call a digital transformation readiness assessment. And in that assessment, we kind of dug in to looking at all areas of the business. And again, this particular case study, they are, pretty savvy in most areas of their business. It's just this particular one that was, something that they didn't have as much experience in, right? And which is perfectly fine. So we did a readiness assessment. We took a look at what the action plan would be. So what are the specific areas in which we needed to put together a plan to address their business growth goals? Where would there be some quick wins? What are some things that we could put in place in a very short period of time that will move them forward? What is the strategy? So now we're going to be looking like 1 to 3 years out. What is the strategy of investment? And then we would tie that directly to how that could impact their business goals. So when we're talking about the business improvement review, really high level, what this is it's a really great opportunity. It's a quick meeting. It's 60 minutes or so. And here our first priority is to understand the business goals and whatever bottlenecks are preventing this organization from, achieving their goals. So in this case, here we did some quick scores. We asked some really good questions. We had a good assessment tool to kind of do a quick assessment right across the organization, of which when we did this, it really was, the highlight was obviously business growth. That was the thing that they really, really wanted to work on, okay? And so the 3 things that we looked at in the business improvement review were business capability, digital maturity in that area, and the technology capability, right? So even though they understand technology, there are so many options out there and so many people telling them different, ideas. So, if you want to improve your sales growth, you should do this, or you should buy this, or you should do this strategy, that strategy, right? So this quick story helped us to narrow that down really quickly, give us some focus, okay? Take a look at what they already have and start the conversation about what they really need to put in place in order to grow. So they got this. It's great, right? We identified and we gave them a score. We said, hey, this is where you are. There's some things that are doing really great. You don't need to even touch these things. You've got this under control, right? When it comes to cybersecurity, they're perfect, right? Like they've got it under control. They've got a plan. When it comes to other areas of their business, they had it under control. But this gave them a crisp score that they could share in the organization. And and this is really the result, right? So we had concepts, quick stores, and in that improvement review, we gave them kind of a next step. Now, why is this important? One of the things that comes out in all the research and all our experience, and I'm sure if anyone has been through this process, you'd say so as well. When you are implementing any new technology, the biggest issue is not necessarily the technology, it's the change that you're asking people to undertake, right? It's getting that buy-in on the technology implementation, getting everyone to agree on one path, getting everyone to use the technology, right? That's the bigger challenge than the actual technology itself. So what this planning process does is it helps people get aligned. It helps the teams to communicate and get aligned on what's really important and what's going to make the biggest difference. And I think that was one of the biggest outcomes that our clients have said is having these conversations internally with the team, everyone making a decision, getting on the same page about what it's going to take in order to close the gap, was one of the biggest benefits. Anyways, really quickly, along this journey line, we did the readiness, we walked through the action plan, what are the specific projects, where are those quick wins, what is that longer term strategy? Okay, so in the assessment, we just looked at, we sent them off an assessment questionnaire, we did some analysis, we put together that action plan, and that was the deliverable in this phase. In that phase, we also prioritized the projects that would take us to the next step. Okay, and then we moved on to the next piece, which is discovery. So we then scoped those problems we've identified, what are the possible solutions. We went out and we provided a number of different options. So, when we're talking about updating a marketing automation system, for example, there are like literally hundreds of them out there. Which is the right one for you? Okay, what is going to meet all of your needs? That's what we helped to scope out, the costs, the timelines. If it's a real technology solution, then there's less interaction because we can go and do the research. If it's a business solution that you are working on, we work with you to kind of flesh that out. What does a project plan look like? What are some of the costs? What are the timelines? All right. So the deliverable here is a vision statement, a timeline plan, and an execution plan. This is what CDAP is asking us to provide. Okay? At the end of the day, to go through this process with clients and deliver a solid kind of end-to-end process where we identify what the gap is, go through some solutioning, and come up with some specific projects that you can implement in order to meet those goals. So that's what we did for them. Again, we came up with ideas around marketing automation. They ended up just choosing one. They chose a CRM update so it could connect and link some technologies for marketing automation that connected in with marketing they wanted to do on LinkedIn, marketing they wanted to do in search engine optimization and Facebook advertising. So hopefully that was interesting. Any questions on that? I know I just talked there for a whole long period of time. Does that make sense? It's all good. Okay. So this is our process. It works very well. It's a proven process that's been used by hundreds and hundreds of advisors out there. We know it works. We know it's effective, and most importantly, it's time effective. So we're singularly focused in on getting the results, and that's what we did for the clients here. Now, won't take up much more time, but just if you think that this might be interesting, if you've identified anything you think in your business, you go, hey, you know what? There are some goals that we do need, and it might be sales and marketing goals. There might be just some other things going on in our business that this could be useful for. That's really the next step, right? The process that we have takes you from not being able to, having those ideas, maybe talking to some vendors, to a place where you have a plan, like a physical plan that's already scoped out with pricing and perhaps different vendors that you can take a look at. So that is what is offered. And the nicest thing about that is that, we can do this digital readiness plan, and, usually it's a 60-minute meeting, and we just really want to make sure that our commitment is that anybody who wants this is something that we are offering to anyone here who's listening today. And if you think this is useful to you, we would be happy to spend the time to take you through this assessment and provide you with that report. And again, in this report, what do you get? Well, you get the scores, you get the gap analysis, and we have a discussion really about where it is that you can focus. If you are eligible for the CDAP program, okay, if you're eligible for the CDAP funding, then the CDAP funding, actually the government is, what they're doing is they're paying for us to work and do this plan for you, okay? So the CDAP funding, in essence, is for the outcome of this plan. And this is the deliverable that we need to be able to provide to you to be able to get the funding. So this is what it pays for, essentially, is this plan. So at the end of this plan, you submit this plan, which is all verified and validated by the government already. You submit it, and then you're eligible for the back end pieces, which is the loan and the student, et cetera. All right, that comes out of this. So you're getting a really high quality, planning process, thinking process, very structured, very worthwhile, hopefully, identifying some really interesting opportunities. You get us working on your behalf to do this work. And the truth is, somebody's going to have to do it. It's either going to be somebody in your organization, or you outsource it to another consultant. Like, somebody's going to have to spend the time to do this. So if the government's willing to make the investment in your business, then, we suggest that you do it. Take advantage of it. It's your tax money. I always say that. It's our tax money. You might as well use it, right? So that's where we are. If you think this is a value, would be interesting, useful, going from one place to the next, let's just continue the conversation, and we'll see if it's a good fit. If it is a good fit, great. If it's not, hopefully this was interesting. At least it could give you some information. And even if you don't qualify for the CDAP program, if you don't meet the thresholds for revenue, please take advantage of that investment review. The improvement review, please take advantage of that, because you will get some clarity out of that, and we're happy to do that. That's part of our commitment to working with businesses, is to at least provide that piece. So if it's of interest, in the chat is a link. We'll just set up a 1 hour time period. We'll walk through the review. We'll send you a report after that, and then we can have a conversation. I have a question here. So thank you, by the way, for sticking with me. Hopefully this was useful. You can unmute yourself, put your hand up if you want to, ask any questions if you want. I'm here for you for the rest of the time period. So I think Rob says, if we got approved by the government for CDAP funding, is there any reason that they wouldn't cover the cost of this assessment? No, there's no reason. The actual application process is for us to do this. Okay, that's what the funding, the grant funding, is to do this process. Yeah. So Simon, yes, absolutely. We're going to send it out afterwards. We're doing the recording, so we're going to make sure that that gets sent out to you afterwards. So hopefully that's helpful. As soon as you do the application and you get the approval, which, like I said, can happen relatively quickly, right? Somewhere between 1 day and 10 days, let's say, it can go relatively quickly. You'll be able to start doing this work right away. Okay, and then finish the process, submit it, then you get access to the loan on the back end. So hopefully that was helpful. Did that answer everyone's questions? Okay, sorry, do you know anything about the terms for the loan? Yes, I do. Okay, the loan's actually very generous, I have to say. If you are, the terms for the loan is that for the first 12 months, there's a deferment of payment. All right, so you don't have to pay anything. So, assume that if you got $50,000, $100,000, you don't have to pay anything back for 12 months. And then after that, you have 5 years to pay off the loan at 0% interest. So it's essentially 6 years interest-free that you get this money. Like, this is amazing. Take it, right? It's useful it could be useful for your business. The idea here is to encourage people to make those investments in the the action plans that come out of the program. All right. And just nobody asked me this, but I'll tell you anyway. The way that they determine, according to the BDC, the way that they determine the amount of the loan, so it's up to $100,000. They said anyone over $5 million in revenue is eligible for the $100,000 loan. And anyone under $5 million of revenue is eligible for a portion of that. Okay. And I'm not really sure how they determine what it is. If it's 25,000, 50,000, 75,000, I'm not sure. But if you're under 5 million, it will be less. If you're over 5 million, it's the full 100,000. That's the threshold that they use. And they don't look at your business per se. They only look at your credit scores. So as long as you're in order, the process is actually quite streamlined through the BDC to get that loan to you right away, right on the back end. Good. Any other questions before we wrap up? We're going to be a little early today, unless you guys ask me some questions. Anything, anywhere? No? Okay, good. Hopefully this was helpful in understanding what the process is and that you see what the value is. It's an incredible opportunity. Why would you not do it, right? There is virtually no cost to you to be able to get this plan into your business and to have an opportunity to have these kinds of consulting conversations at like virtually no cost. So, the government's made this opportunity available. They don't have this available in the United States or other places. But if you are interested in this, please do. And I look forward to continuing the conversation. I want to say thank you to everyone for participating with us today. And we'll just wrap it up from here.